My name is Max. I'm 35 years old and working as a nurse. My wife Valentina is a businesswoman and is 40 years old. We have one daughter, named Ariana, who turned 4 this year. Until recently, the three of us lived a happy life together, but things have become a bit of a mess. I first met Valentina around 10 years ago. We were both from Missouri and both went out of state to Boston for university and eventually found jobs out there. And when we noticed how much we had in common, we began to date. After dating some time, we began to think about marriage. We both wanted to move back to Missouri, so we decided that we would begin our married lives out there. Valentina's workspace had a branch near where I grew up. She requested to be transferred there, and once the request was approved, I quit the hospital I worked at, and we both moved back to Missouri together. We began our new lives together in the same house that we live in to this day. Both of our workplaces, as well as my wife's parents' house, are within a 30-minute drive from our house. My family's house was a bit further away, but you could still get there in about an hour. Luckily, I quickly found a new hospital to work at. I'm still working as a nurse and am busy every day. When we first got married, Valentina had trouble getting pregnant. We were rushed and felt a lot of pressure from our families, but we still got along. 3 years later, a stork finally visited us. When my daughter was born, I was so happy I cried. "Thank you, Valentina. You've really been through a lot. We'll be busy from now on. We won't be lonely anymore." She must have been lonely since we left our university friends and moved out here. We aren't that close to her hometown. Valentina actually grew up a few counties over. Her parents moved here after she started university. The place she grew up is a 3-hour drive away, so it's not a distance she can easily travel to meet up with childhood friends. Her hobby was ballet, but she didn't manage to make any friends there either, and she eventually quit. I knew that she was stressed and lonely, but I didn't have the confidence that I could help her feel better. These are probably just excuses. But when my wife was pregnant, my work as a nurse was very straining, and I also ended up doing most of the housework, so I didn't have much free time. We didn't have much time to relax as a couple either. I spoke with Valentina about how our lives will be from now on. I thought I was the good guy in all this, but it backfired. I worked hard around the house in order for my wife to be able to take it easy, but it seemed she actually wanted to help me. My wife is usually the social type, but she didn't have much free time to meet up with people outside of work, and it was hard for her to make new friends. So she at least wanted to help out at home, but when I turned down her help, she worried she was a burden to me. She knew that it didn't make sense, but still. I asked my boss if he could keep me off the night shift for a while, because I wanted to be able to have time in the evenings to spend with my wife. If my boss turned me down, I planned on looking for work at another hospital, but he took on my request without any problem. People made fun of me when I took my daughter to the hospital for checkups. They said I wasn't being manly enough, but I ignored them. Ariana grew little by little, and she began to be able to do more on her own. Valentina and I enjoyed watching Ariana grow, and 4 years passed by happily. But recently, something has been bothering me. My wife has been acting a bit strangely. Anytime I would try to bring it up, Valentina would ignore me or change the conversation. It seemed like she didn't care about our daughter as much as she used to. She would leave Ariana at her parents' house more often, and in general would play with Ariana less. At first I thought I must be wrong, but things got worse and worse. She stopped doing housework and helping out with Ariana, and would just shut herself in her room. She would come home late from work and go out by herself on the weekends. She barely even talked to Ariana and I. What could have happened? If things continue like this won't be good for Ariana, but Valentina wouldn't respond to anything I'd tell her. After a lot of conversation, I decreased my hours at work so I could spend more time with Ariana. I thought Valentina must just be exhausted. When my daughter got older, I increased my work hours and began taking on night shifts again. Of course, that meant I had less time for Valentina, so I worried that she might feel lonely and like a burden, like she did when she was pregnant. I had to make sure that we went back to how we were before, when we would come home early, eat dinner together every night, and spend time together. So once again, I switched back to working only mornings and afternoons. I put a lot of effort into cooking delicious dinners for us, but Valentina didn't change. She would never start conversations with me, and if I tried talking to her, her replies would be emotionless. She never seemed to pay any attention to me. When I asked her if she's tired or if I've done something wrong, "Nah," is all she would say, so I also began saying the bare minimum to her. As I was trying to come up with some sort of solution for this, it came time for my wife to use her paid leave. At Valentina's company, once the busy season passes every year, people start taking turns taking weeks off to use up their paid leave. At first I thought we should spend time as a trio, so I planned to suggest going on a family trip or something, but then I thought that might pressure Valentina. So instead I decided it was better for her to do something that would help her de-stress. "Do you have any plans for your vacation?" "Not really." "In that case, why don't you go meet with your friends from university, or maybe go on a trip with your parents?" That sounds good." That same day, Valentina left without saying a word. She came back a week later, but I have no idea where she went or who she was with. Still, she seemed more relaxed when she came back. Valentina began spending more nights out of the house. She would even spend the entire weekends away. I had no idea where she was going or what she was doing. She might be out with friends or she might have found herself a new hobby. We barely talked, but I didn't want to stress her out or put her in a bad mood. I felt weaker than usual, so I went to get a checkup at my hospital. The results of my blood test weren't very good, so I was told to get a more detailed examination. After the second exam, they found I had a malignant tumor. It was really lucky that I had gotten this checkup early enough to discover this tumor before it became too serious. The surgery could be done endoscopically, so it wouldn't be very hard on me, but still I was feeling sad. I told Valentina about what had happened. She didn't look up from her phone even once. She only said one word, "Okay." I felt so sad I was at a loss for words. The day before I was admitted to the hospital for my surgery, I cleaned the house and prepared everything. My wife and Ariana went to my in-laws' home. Before they left, Valentina told me they wouldn't return. Yesterday she told me she wanted us to divorce. This wasn't because of the tumor or the surgery, but because of the recovery period after. "You'll cause trouble for me, Ariana, and even for my parents, don't you think? That's too much, so let's break up." Trouble. Her words sliced so deeply into my heart that I didn't have the strength to say anything back. After I was discharged from the hospital, my in-laws called me and pressured me about the divorce. "Ariana's living here, so you better pay child support. Hurry up with the divorce already." "Valentina sent you the divorce?" I thought Valentina and Ariana would come home eventually, but they never did. My wife didn't say anything when her parents called me. Stunned, I cleaned the house, but something bothered me. Even though Valentina was supposed to have been at her parents' house this whole time, our home was a mess. Had she come back? Then I found something. I found men's clothing when I was cleaning her room. So it's true. I took out the large brown envelope I had been hiding and peeked inside as my hands trembled. It was a report from a private investigator I had hired when my wife began acting strangely. I picked it up from the investigator's office the other day, but since I was told the contents would upset me, I got so scared I never actually looked inside. And he was right, they did upset me. The worst part was, she brought her lover to our own home. I felt so disgusted that I ignored the pain from my surgery wound and thoroughly cleaned the whole house. I eventually started going to work again. At work, they kindly gave me tasks that were a bit easier on me so I wouldn't push myself. One day, something big happened. Valentina got into a car accident and was brought to my hospital. The car accident happened while she was out on a date, so her lover was brought to my hospital with her. I ran into the treatment room. "I'm Valentina's husband, where is she?" Everyone in the room was confused. All the staff treating Valentina and her lover had assumed the two of them were married. "Huh? This is your wife?" "The man who was just here now. Oh, he's gone. He only had a few scratches, so he went home." The nurses whispered to each other while treating Valentina. "I will take your clothes off now." When the nurse said that, Valentina suddenly screamed, "Don't look!" "It'll be okay." A few nurses held Valentina down and took off her blouse and undershirt. "What?" I exclaimed. On the left side of her chest, she had a tattoo. The tattoo was of a heart and arrow, with a man's name. I couldn't believe it. I left my wife behind and ran out of the room. I got to see that her life wasn't in danger, so I didn't want to embarrass myself anymore. My wife had broken her collarbone and ribs, so she was hospitalized. The staff asked me if I could bring Valentina a few sets of clothing, so I went back home. A few hours later, I brought Valentina's stuff into her hospital room. Her treatment had finished, and she was laying in her bed. Sitting by her side were her parents and Ariana. "Daddy!" "Ariana, are you doing okay?" "Yeah, are you not sick anymore?" "Yeah, I'm feeling better now." Meeting my daughter gave me strength. I wanted to speak to Valentina and my in-laws, so I asked one of my colleagues to take care of Ariana for a minute. I put through the papers for our divorce. "Wait, at a time like this?" "It's okay, Mom, the sooner the better." "I will raise Ariana." "What are you saying? You can't decide that by yourself. We will take Ariana." "Then let me ask, Valentina, do you know the place that Ariana always wants to go to most? Do you know what vegetable she just started eating? Or her favorite characters?" "You can't answer, huh? That's because you don't spend any time with her, right? You plan on leaving her to your parents to take care of, right?" I handed my in-laws the brown envelope. When they saw what was inside, their faces went pale. But they didn't seem too upset. My in-laws must have known about my wife's affair. "I will take custody of Ariana so you don't even come near my daughter again." "You can't stop us from meeting her." "Valentina has that man's name tattooed on her chest. Do you think that's appropriate for a mother to do?" Valentina's parents didn't seem to know about the tattoo. I continued and explained how they made a mess of our home. I told them that inviting her lover to our home while I was in the hospital was something I could never forgive. The fact Valentina would ignore her daughter to meet her lover. Since her parents helped her hide it, they were also to blame. I told them that I would be taking custody of Ariana and would be expecting to receive child support. I also mentioned that I would be requesting alimony from Valentina's lover. She would abandon her own daughter to spend time with her lover. There's no way I could leave Ariana with her. My mother-in-law began to speak, trying to convince me that we were doing a good job taking care of Ariana, but I just ignored her. "If you want to go through mediation or take this to court, that's fine with me, but I'm sure if you do that, everyone will find out that this all happened because of Valentina's affair." Our divorce was officialized shortly after. Since I got custody of Ariana, the two of us moved to a new home together. Valentina's lover was also married. So it seems Valentina is paying alimony to his wife too. Rumors spread quickly and Valentina developed a super bad reputation at her office. But since she had to pay alimony and child support, she couldn't quit. Because Valentina had no savings and couldn't pay everything off on her own, her father had to go out of retirement and get her mother to start working part-time. Since I don't have work tomorrow, let's go somewhere. Where do you want to go? I want to go see Mr. Elephant. Then let's go to the zoo and eat something yummy on the way home. Yay! My health improved a lot, and now I'm living a peaceful and happy life with my daughter.